year, like the past 5 years, the state of Maryland has recognized a week in the fall to be called Economic Development Week, where jurisdictions throughout the state will have events and activities to recognize the importance of economic development to their communities. This year is no different, and the week of September 28th through October 2nd has been deemed Economic Development Week in the state of Maryland. Coincidentally, earlier this week, as you know, we had the pleasure of visiting with Secretary Mike Gill from the Department of Business and Economic Development. Came to Cumberland, made a Western Maryland trip, and made an afternoon stop here. And I was very pleased to meet Secretary Gill for the first time. I thought he made a lot of good comments and was a good listener, quite honestly, in terms of some of the issues that we brought before him. As part of that visit, Commissioner Valentine and I had the pleasure to accompany him to the Versa Mill, Luke Mill, and I think that was a very good experience for Secretary Gill as well. I think he learned a lot about the mill, and I go up there periodically myself for business retention visits, and I was pleased between last time I was there and this time to hear some of the positive news coming out of the mill about how the new company, the merger seems to be off on the right foot, and in fact that they're putting money into the facility, so that's a very positive thing for the local economy. Second point I just want to note real quick is that on October 2nd, the North-South Coalition is having its annual meeting this year in Garrett County, and that is really, I think this year going to be, it's coincidental, but it's also a very good thing that is happening during Economic Development Week. My colleague Alex McCoy in Garrett County and I are going to make sure through the tri-state union that is the North-South Coalition that we're going to stress to the group during the annual meeting the importance of the North-South corridor, and I know the commissioners have been very supportive of that as well. So on October 2nd, the last day of Economic Development Week, we certainly are going to pay tribute and point out that that important piece of infrastructure improvement. It's been a long time in planning, and probably, quite honestly, will be a long time until it comes to fruition, but the group is helping keeping that project moving. So again, thank you for your support on that. But without further ado, I think the proclamation is in front of you, and I'd like to ask David Nedved from my staff to come up and receive the proclamation on behalf of the county this year.
Thanks a lot. And I think if 220 gets built, we have to name it the David Lowe Highway.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, it's an official Allegany County citation. Whereas the Allegany County Department of Economic and Community Development is an active member of MEDA, the Maryland Economic Development Association, a nonprofit organization now celebrating its 54th year. And whereas MEDA provides economic and development professionals important educational opportunities and encourages partnerships to enhance the efforts to bring jobs and investments to Maryland. And whereas MEDA members promote Maryland's economic well-being and work to improve and enhance the state's business climate. And whereas the economic growth and stability of the state affects all regions, and Allegany County is an important component of Maryland's economic success. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners, hereby proclaim the week of September 28th through October 2nd, 2015 as Economic Development Week. And with this whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Allegany County, Maryland, to be affixed the 17th day of September, year 2015, signed by all three county commissioners, William Valentine, Creed Brady, and Jay Jane. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next we're going to move into a public hearing for Code Home Rule Bill 7-15, tattoo regulations update. This is an update of TAC 2 regulations created by the Allegheny Health Department. Do you have anything more you want to say on this?
No, sir, we don't.
We have no one signed up to speak on this issue. Is there anybody here to speak in favor or against the new TAC 2 regulations? There's nothing. For today. Okay, we'll move into our action agenda. First item is fire and EMS services. Gentlemen, you know that the volunteer fire companies have been struggling to find needed funding. Recently, we had Frostburg Fire Department request taxing area for their area. We've already got a couple taxing districts for fire departments in the county. One of those areas has requested a doubling of the tax rate in your area. This is something I think we're going to have to address now, start looking at it, or it's going to be getting done dribble by dribble, piecemeal. So I would like to make a motion tonight that we direct staff to proceed with evaluating the existing funding methodology for fire and EMS services throughout the county, and to propose options for a countywide fire and EMS tax program. We need to get to work on this now, because the only way this will be put in effect, it will be put on the next ballot and be done through a referendum vote. The citizens of this county would vote whether or not they want to accept such a program.
Need a second?
I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
You know, this is a big issue,
Very big.
to put in front of the people for a referendum. You know, that hasn't been done since 1974, and it's just not something that I'm comfortable with doing. I'm fine with looking at some of the formulas, and you know, Clary'sville closed, so maybe Frostburg should get their portion, but in terms of doing this huge piecemeal thing, I'm not in support of it.
Very good.
Okay, we'll take a vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Next item is professional engineering services, 2015-2016 National Bridge Inspection Program. Mr. Madison?
Good evening, gentlemen. Every 2 years, the county is required to inspect their major bridges. We have traditionally used state highways consulting services for the qualified consultant list that they provide. So I'm here this evening to ask for your permission to award this contract to Wilson T. Ballard for our next 2-year bridge inspection cycle. Any questions?
No, sir.
Do we have a motion to move forward on this?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Leslie. Next item is resolution 15-18, solid waste management plan, 2014-2024. Ms. Whitby.
Good evening. So the counties of Maryland are required to have a solid waste management plan and implemented as needed. MD sent us some comments on our plan, which have updated our apartment building and condominium recycling program per MD's recommendations, and we added the special event recycling program in the plan. We had a public meeting on August 20th, and I got 2 comments, one from the city of Frostburg and one from the city of Cumberland, and they have been addressed. And I'm asking tonight for you guys to adopt the plan, so I can send it on to for MD's approval.
Any questions, guys?
None, sir.
Do we have a motion to move forward?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Item number 6, fiscal year 2016 operating assistance grant agreement. Mr. Cole?
Good evening, Commissioners. This is simply the annual operating for our
good.
Do we have a motion to move forward with this?
So moved.
It's a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7 is an amendment to Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development block grant for Bowling Green Water Project. Mr. Hernandez.
Hello, Commissioners. Last summer, we signed a grant agreement accepting $800,000 for the first phase of the Bowling Green Water Project. And back in May of this year, we applied again, or June, sorry, we applied for an additional $800,000 to continue the project, to basically do phase 2 of the project. And we received $750,000, $50,000 short, but we still received $750,000. This amendment before you, I'm asking today for authorization to sign the grant amendment, which would transfer, which would add the additional $750,000 to the original $800,000, and it also transfers a little over $13,000 that was not spent on the Moss Avenue project. So what I'm asking for today is just authorization to have the President sign the amendment to the grant agreement, accepting the total funds, which will now make the total amount of funds awarded for this project $1,563,432.90.
Do we have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay, now, the item that was moved forward, which will be this is item 11 on the consent agenda. It's underage drinking prevention grant. Jake, you want to go ahead and explain this?
Absolutely. And so this is authorizing the Sheriff's Department to get $10,000 from our Health Department to fight underage drinking, and which is good. They should do that. But what I found is that this isn't what it's going to. It's not stopping high schoolers or people under 21 from buying alcohol. What it's doing is overage adults go in with someone, they order 2 beers, one person goes in the back room, the other person buys 2 beers, and all of a sudden your restaurant's faced with a $1,000 fine. And we're talking about being more business friendly, and we're trying to bring in folks. And then we have franchises, who I will not name, looking at major fines. And so what do they think of our area when they're getting this happen to them? And of course, you should ask for ID, obviously, whatever. But when it's something so petty, it's not that they served someone under 18, they served someone, or under 21, they served someone over 21, 2 beers. And I just think it's ridiculous, and we shouldn't extend this.
So they're looking for what now on this? The grant is for what? So
The grant authorizes overtime for the Sheriff's Department. I think it's about $45 an hour for deputies who are obviously over 21. And we don't have anyone under 21 in the Sheriff's Office, I don't think, to do this. They take someone with them. They go to another part of the bar, and they say, can I have 2 beers? They take the other one to them. Now all of a sudden you serve someone underage.
very good. I understand.
So, what is your motion?
He's not making one.
I'm not making a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept item number 8.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Shaker votes.
Yes.
Yeah, for the record.
Thanks.
Okay, we move into our consent agenda. Mr. Herbert?
Commissioners, this evening I have now 7 items on the consent agenda. Item number 8 is listed on the agenda is a motion requesting the purchase of 11818 Valley Road. Funds being used to purchase this home are being provided by the Emergency Management Agency. Commissioners, items number 9, 10, and 12 are grants representing 100% funding for the Allegheny County Sheriff's Office, who is seeking to partner with Frostburg State University, the Allegheny County Health Department, and the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention for alcohol compliance checks, underage tobacco prevention, and school bus safety enforcement. Item 13 is a motion to award a contract to Vision Benefits of America for a 2-year period. This program is being supported entirely by employee contributions. The monthly rates charged to participating employees will not change over the life of the contract. Commissioners, item 14 is a motion to request the abatement of county real estate taxes on 3 properties located in the city of Cumberland, which are being acquired by the city and are scheduled to be raised. Those properties are located at 269 William Street, 257 to 259 William Street, and 316 Baltimore Avenue. Last item, Commissioners, item number 15 is a motion to award the MPO contract to Bennett Brewer and Associates of Frostburg to provide planning guidance on the possible reconfiguration of the intersection in Frostburg of University Drive, East College Avenue, and Bell Street. That's all I have for you in the consent agenda, Commissioner.
Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On your item, Jake, since this grant is to prevent underage drinking, your problem with it is the method and
Absolutely.
manner, right? We can sit down and have a conversation with the sheriff because the grant doesn't say how he has to.
And that's exactly, they have the tobacco one, and that they send people under 18 to buy tobacco, and that they've hit 0 convenience stores over the past 3 years. No one has been out of compliance. And I would bet that if you send a 19-year-old into a bar anywhere in the county, they're going to get ID'd, but that isn't what's happening here.
So we can talk to the sheriff and see if we can change the way that the program's operated. Okay, Dave.
Commissioners, we did have bid openings today that we were referring to department heads for further consideration. That relates to the sport utility vehicle that we need for the Department of Public Works and our 2 annual dump truck vehicles for the roads division. And we should have a recommendation for you by our public meeting next week.
Mr. Wright. Thank you very much. Jake, any comments?
Yeah, my comments are on Allegany, and thank you everyone for coming out tonight to see a commissioners meeting and all the excitement that goes along with it. We got some tattoo regulations almost passed, one more meeting. But there's a few times that issues come in front of the commission that have such a long-lasting impact on our community, and this is one of them, the new school. And this decision shouldn't be made in a rushed and impulsive manner like we've seen the past couple of weeks. It needs to be made with the same process that we've carried out over the past 6 years. And so I want to be the first one to say the consolidation, it's off the table. It's not something that's going to happen. Fort Hill can't hold the students. You can't split folks between Mountain Ridge and Fort Hill. It just won't work. So if you still want to go down that route, we're going to need a new building that's going to cost over $100 million. So when our community has enough trouble financing a $50-some million school, I'm not sure how we're going to find a $100 million school. At the same time, you look at the state, and so if we were going down this consolidation route, we'd be obviously asking the state for more money. At the same time, we would send the $25 million they already gave us. We'd send that back, and we go to the back of the line, and it just reinforces the I guess the image of Allegheny County that they don't really know what they're doing. It gives us a bad reputation. That we really don't know what we want, and so I think we've gone through this process so long, and we've done the studies, we've done all the stuff that needs to be done, we've done the site prep, and the bids came in high. It's too expensive of a school to build as it is, and I'm very confident though that our engineers, Paul, Kale, and Adam, I don't know if they're here, they're going to be working with the Board of Ed to try to find some cost savings on October 1. And I would hope at a meeting sometime in October that the commissioners and the delegation and the Board of Ed will sit down together and see how we can find the money to fill the gap. And most of it's going to have to come from the state. I mean, we just don't have that kind of money. We can't fill a $25 million gap. We don't have that our reserve fund, and so the state's going to have to lead the way. And what I have proposed and what I think would be right is whatever dollar the state comes up with. If they come up with $3, we can kick in another $1, or some sort of formula to that tune, because they're the ones that are going to have to be leading the way. And I know our delegation can do it, but that's kind of how we're approaching it, how I'm approaching it right now. So thank you all for coming, and we hear your concerns. It's a 90-year-old school that needs to be done, and we look at the other schools in the queue that are trying to get built. You know, they're built in 1969, and I think Allegany already had 3 renovations by then. So it needs to be done. It's something that Allegany County can be grateful for and really appreciate for another half century or longer. So thank you.
I have no comments this time, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Lee.
Follow up on what Jake said. You know, we've got a crew working on the blueprints, looking at the blueprints, trying to find ways that cost of construction can be lowered. Just to show you how crazy things are, there was a school built is being built in Frederick for $114 million, 1,900 student school. There's another 1,900 student school being built a little bit farther east. That school's like $134 million. Huge difference between those two schools, same size. There's also a school that's just been bid, a 1,500 seat school for $81.2 million. So these prices are fluctuating all over the place. And what the county has to look at is not just the price of the construction of the school, we also have to furnish the school. There was a school in, I think it was Caroline County, 3 years ago, the school was completed, and they couldn't afford to furnish it. Didn't do a whole lot of good to have a new school sitting there empty. So we're sitting down, everybody's going to work together on this thing to get this project done. But it can't be a $60 million school. There's some sort of a problem when even the architect, the day when the bids went out, was saying this should be somewhere between 42 and 45 million. And then the bids come back 60 million. That's a huge difference. And architects get paid to know what every square inch of every project costs. So these are the types of things we really have to sit and look at, see what the cost drivers are on that school, evaluate everything in the school, see what areas need funded right away, what areas may have to be shoved off to the back. The county's working, like I say, the county's offered to use our own manpower, our own equipment at no cost to the Board of Education to help construct the sports facilities. That's what our people do. They do groundwork all the time. So there's ways we just have to take a look how we can cut costs. That's the way Mount Ridge was constructed. When Mount Ridge first came in, it was a good bit over budget. They sat down, looked at it, worked with the people that had bid the job, the contractors, said, find ways to get from here to here, and let's get our school.
Amen.
And we've got a good school. So that's the way we have to work on this thing. Now we've got a number of people signed up to speak. We ask people to be very pleasant with each other. You have 5 minutes to speak yourself. If you don't agree with somebody, with what somebody says, please keep that disagreement to yourself at this time. The first speaker is Jenna Pufferberger. Please come forward, state your name, your address.
Good evening. My name is Jenna Pufferberger. I live at 6 Cregan Lane in LaVale, and I'm a current senior at Alleghany High School. A typical day at Alleghany consists of walking across broken floor tiles, enduring the heat with a lack of air conditioning, and helping younger students navigate the non-handicap accessible complex floor plan of the oldest operating high school in the state of Maryland. Spending a day as a student of Allegany is enough for anyone to conclude that change is needed, and the pride and tradition of our Allegany High School needs to be preserved. On June 30th of this year, the Maryland State Department of Education commissioned a study concerning the impact of school size on relative communities. Issues discussed in the report included operating efficiency, academic achievement, extracurricular participation, teacher and student satisfaction, and disciplinary policy. Furthermore, the outside consultants that completed the facility study for Alleghany County Public Schools years ago recommended a replacement building for Alleghany High School as the #1 priority. It is clear from the results of these studies that a solution such as combining schools is not an option for the population of Alleghany County. Students currently attending any Alleghany County Public School are provided with many opportunities that are essential to ensuring the student with the best learning environment possible. For example, students are given fair chances to be a part of a sports team. This is something that doesn't mean much to everybody, but can ultimately add to the student's college resume and in some cases give them something to be passionate about. Current class sizes allow students to be placed with others who exhibit similar learning pace. These are only two of the things that may be compromised with a switch to a large school, not to mention the amount of jobs we would lose as a county by consolidating, impacting the lives of many teachers, administrators, janitors, transportation and cafeteria employees, and their families. I'm here today not to urge you to make a decision, not to urge you to even form an opinion. I'm here to encourage you to sit down with the other elected officials of our county and come to a decision with the intent of providing the best learning experience possible for future students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Caitlin Kaufman.
My name is Caitlin Kaufman, and I live at 227 Saratoga Street in Cumberland. I am also a senior at Alleghany High School, and I am the student body president. I'd like to thank you for hearing our concerns. I know that delegating money is a difficult task, but right now we are asking you to have a conversation with the other elected officials. Most of the people here will not be at this school. However, we understand how our educational atmosphere has changed because of the condition of the current building. The condition of the school isn't something students should be concerned with. And I became very frustrated when I realized that people are under the impression that a new school is not necessary. As a student, I've endured 3 years of this building and can speak firsthand as to the poor condition as it currently stands. Our school is heated using coal, and we have no air conditioning. Because of this, janitors must focus time on the archaic heating and cooling systems instead of cleaning the rest of the school, which does not receive nearly enough attention. I'm sure you've heard that last spring a portion of the hallway exploded from underneath. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Late August this year, it was raining a lot, and as I was walking the band, I noticed water dripping down the walls. Our lockers have deteriorated to the point where all 5 combinations had to be tested this year in order for the locker to function properly. Technology is a part of our student existence. However, the current building does not have the capacity to support the technological needs and expectations of 21st century learners. The building is, as Jen said, not handicap accessible. There's an elevator that goes between the first 2 floors, but the English wing, language wing, art wing, and basement can be accessed only by stairs. These problems are compounded by the skewed floor plan. We have random towers isolated from the main portion of the building. Band and choir rooms are on the opposite side of the school from the auditorium. We shouldn't notice radical temperatures, and we shouldn't notice exploding hallways. We shouldn't notice dripping walls. We shouldn't notice our learning environment falling apart as we speak. The students I represent, the community I represent, are worth the tax dollars spent on this project. So for the sake of the students in the community, please reopen that line of communication. Thank you.
Ryan White.
Brian White. I live at 550 National Highway in LaVale. I'm currently the Teacher of the Year for Allegheny High School, and I come before the Honorable County Commissioners of Allegheny County to implore each of you to work with the Board of Education to come to a solution in regards to the funding of the new Allegheny High School. There have been many rumors circulating, and an obvious distrust has been displayed between the Commissioners and the Board of Education. It's time to put differences aside and work together for the future of Allegheny County. An effort needs to be made to work as a unified front in lobbying the state for more money if that is what it will take. As a teacher at Allegany High School, I am invested in my school's community. In addition to teaching social studies, I also coach the school's mock trial team and serve as the assistant band director. Last year, my mock trial team made it to the final match and played in the state championship match in Annapolis. I mention this because it is important to note that my students were very aware that they were representing Allegheny County, not Cumberland, and not just their high school, but the entire county. I want to be clear that I agree with Commissioner Shade's recent statement that these are not Cumberland's high schools, they are Allegheny County's high schools. There is a pride of our legacy that we are the first high school in the county, and that we have decade after decade represented our county at both the state and national level in academics, sports, and music. In recent years, this has grown much difficult with the condition of our building. For the past 6 years, the teachers of Allegheny High School have made sacrifices to do without, since we have been told that we would be getting a new building. Band-aid measures have been the standard for us to get by, but this has to end. We need to work together for the children of our community. And the namesake school for the county has been given the short end of the stick for far too long. Too many sacrifices have been made by the Allegheny High School community do not warrant our fair due. The students I teach every day are not just a number, as seems to be the opinion of some in the community. Every young person in my charge has value that a price tag cannot be placed on his or her education. I would hope that each of you agrees with this statement and believe that we can find a way to make the new Allegheny High School a reality. Make this happen. Let's all make this happen. In conclusion, I wish to echo Commissioner Valentine's campaign promise of 2010. We cannot make the needed improvements to the daily lives of our citizens unless the public and government work as partners, not adversaries. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for your comments, Jake. Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Valentine. As a homeowner, a business owner, and a taxpayer in Allegheny County, the position that you, the county commissioners, take regarding funding for a new school is of great interest to me. Over the last 15 years, BOE has paid for and received 2 professional studies designed to evaluate the use of school facilities in Allegheny County. Both studies evaluated population trends, educational trends, state educational requirements, and the geographic realities of our region. Both studies recommended that the top capital improvement project for the school system should be the building of a new Allegany High School to replace the current Allegany High School. Following the most recent of these studies, the Apparatus study, the elected Board of Education of Jeff Metz, Mike Llewellyn, Karen Schreiber, Tom Strickland, and Sarah Beth James voted unanimously to proceed with the project. Additional capital improvement projects were removed from the BOE's list of capital needs at the Commissioner's request. That request from the Commissioners came with a commitment of full support for the new high school. Admittedly, the escalating cost of the new school construction has created a deficit much larger than the worst-case scenario the architects had prepared us for. But it still requires that we make every effort to work together to find solutions. The new school is not a city school. It is a regional school. Its students come from Bel Air, Crescent Town, Ellerslie, LaVale, and Cumberland. The taxpayers of those communities deserve the full participation of our county commissioners in this process. We do not elect commissioners as regional representatives in Allegheny County. You represent all the county, not just those in the communities you call home. It's your obligation to work for all of us. Please reconsider your position and make plans to sit down with the delegation, the Board of Education, and the City of Cumberland in an open forum to look for solutions to this most needed project's budget shortfalls. Thank you.
Sam Tilly.
Before I begin, I want to say a couple things. First of all, I didn't wear a tie today intentionally. I wrote a speech, but I knew I was going to go off the cuff. That's because this is the 5th time I have spoken to this type of event in the last 4 to 5 years. Okay, I cannot stress enough that these issues have already been addressed, and I'm glad that Jake stole my thunder, sorry, Commissioner Shade. I love this ring of that too, Mr. Shade, or Commissioner Shade. But he stole my thunder when he said that there is no way that there is going to be a combining of schools. And I'm really glad that was immediately put to rest, because there's a lot of people who do not know that. So, I'm going to break down tonight. Since I've seen these so many times, let me break it down. I've written these enormous speeches, delivered them a bunch of times. The teachers, most of the people that are affiliated with the schools are going to say, we need a new facility. And then there are those who are going to say that there is not enough money. I understand, believe me, I understand that there is a problem with funding. Let it be clear from the beginning, I do not belittle those concerns. The amount of money is enormous, obviously it can be scary. But we have to think about what it means to make a decision and to follow through. The decision had been made years ago, and knowingly that decision was going to cost quite a bit of money. And no matter what direction you go, it's going to cost a lot of money. Let that be known. So, on this point, Jake kind of stole my thunder. There are only 2 decent choices: build a new school, combine 3 schools into 2. So, we've had this conversation, we've done the studies, as Mr. Long and others have said, we have done this. So, I mean, is it ever a curiosity why there is so much apathy from politics? I am not originally from here, okay? I'm from Michigan. I moved almost 10 years ago. I'm not even like a big, into the Fort Hill and Allegheny rivalry thing. I watch it from afar, and it's amazing to me that something that is so divisive can bring the community so together. It's an ironic thing. But I do watch it, and I'm always impressed by it. So that's not my argument. I don't care whether or not there's an Allegheny and Fort Hill rivalry. But I have worked in multiple schools, Baltimore, Detroit, and I've worked at schools that had over 2,000 students. And there are multiple studies, which I cited in previous speeches, that show when you make a school's population bigger, they do not function as well. Bottom line, every study out there shows it. Building a new school, while expensive, is the best result for the education and the children of the community. So if the goal is the best education possible, then figure out a way for the money and build the school. Everybody that's up here, instead of fighting with your community and your constituency, start fighting for your community and your constituency.
everybody up here is dedicated to getting this school done. It's the cost of doing it that we have to look at, and I need to remind you, like I say, not only is the school, it's proper furnishing of the school, build a nice modern school, and if you have to put garbage in it for furnishing, you have gone a long ways. There's going to be additional transportation needed for that school, and then we're also looking at 2 middle schools very shortly. So it has to be looked at in one large package. And like I said, I'm going to a school facilities meeting being offered by the state on Tuesday. The state of Maryland realizes they've got a huge problem with the cost of constructing schools. This isn't only in Allegheny County. Frederick right now, they're in the process of building a new high school, but to do that, they have 2 extremely overpopulated elementary schools in very poor condition, but they have to shove those down the road and shove those back. So that's something that's happening everywhere in the state. So I'm going to be down there Tuesday to listen to what other people have to say. There's a lot of organizations working on this. Why is the cost of schools? And part of it is the state of Maryland. We know the state of Maryland has a lot of regulation and whatnot. They seem to be able to pump out new schools in the state of West Virginia in a year's time. And here, it takes 3, 4, 5 years to get to the point where you're ready to turn some dirt. So it's a big issue. We're going to get the job done. I haven't heard any disagreement here. You know, everybody that spoke realizes the cost is extremely high. And like I said, we don't have to only worry about the cost of this school, but we've got 2 middle schools we're looking at, we've got transportation costs. So it's already been agreed that the county engineers are going to sit down with the Board of Education Construction Committee, with the people who bid this job, with the architect. It's going to be the same process we used at Mountain Ridge. How do we get from this price to this price without hurting quality? And I've been in construction my entire life. And if you're out there wanting to build a new home, you think you absolutely got to have granite tops, you got to have this, you got to have that. Then you get the price tag, all of a sudden you say, well, you know, the blanket top might not look quite as good as that granite top, but it's going to work just as well, and I can afford that. So what you have to do is just look at what you can afford without hurting the quality of the project. And that's what everybody's looking at. I've been looking at the plans all day today. Mr. Everly's been looking at the plans all day. Our engineers have been looking at the plans today. Just looking to see how this can be done and done. So nobody, I haven't heard one person up here say, we're not going to build this school. So let's just keep calm about it and work through the process. It's going to take a while, but we have to work with the state, which that's never real fast, never real easy. We have to work with the Board of Education, the county commissioner, the state. We have to come up with a way to get this school done. Dr. Lever had a school construction. This is a very important project to him. So hopefully we'll be able to get some of that help from the state.
If I may, I understand the whole furnishing thing. I just don't think, I mean, you guys should really tour that building for a day, especially when it's raining. This air conditioning is beautiful. I mean, it's an environment for divergent, deep thinking. This school doesn't have it. If we had to move the furniture, the faculty of that building amazes me with the little that it has. It is able to accomplish so much. So if we're using old furniture in a building that doesn't leak, I don't think anybody's gonna care.
Okay, want to thank everybody for being here tonight.
There's another
I
list.
didn't sign to comment. Is it too late?
I signed up to comment, but
There's another list.
signed up the wrong sheet.
The other than the sign, like, come on up. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you for letting me slip in there, Commissioner Valentine. Commissioners, I come before you tonight as an educator, community advocate, businessman, and father. My concern is the Allegany High School project, as most of you know, on the commission. I think a lot of what Commissioner Valentine just said is absolutely relevant, and I appreciate those comments a lot. I do appreciate Commissioner Valentine's willingness to listen to his constituents as well, and I mean that sincerely. I'm just going to forget part of this, and I just want to say I do have some concerns with this board and primarily the last board. I know we've talked about, we know it's a huge financial gap, but one thing I do want to say is I have yet to hear a sort of an answer as to why this board has provided local funding at such a low level to begin with, when quite frankly, we didn't do it on the last project. It's inexcusable, it's shameful. The current funding is millions less than the amount that was done for Mountain Ridge. Now, Allegany is 0.865% the size of Mountain Ridge. So I calculated those numbers, and it's amazing how the school population, what it's rated for, and the square footage is eerily right around that 0.865. So if we look at that, the Mountain Ridge project received $11.3 million. That was 11 years ago. If I factor that times that percentage, it's $9.774 million. That number factored in an annual 3% escalation cost over 11 years, which I have talked to people in the construction industry is very conservative, comes out to $13,530,000. In addition, talking to construction engineers, a factor of 15% needs to be added due to the new state lead requirements that were not in place with Mountain Ridge being built. That factor takes us to $15,559,000. So basically, the commissioners years ago underfunded this project to the tune of about $6 million. It's inexcusable and outrageous to me. So that's right off the top. And beyond that, I understand that the state's going to have to come pony up. We're all acting as if we're under the gun, but it was underfunded to begin with. The county has several ways to contribute to the project. Any statement otherwise is simply not true. More money could be borrowed. The county is currently at a 20-year low in debt. Some money could be taken out of the county fund balance. Perhaps Rocky Gap could be revisited because that money, is being used for other purposes. The Allegany School District, which contributes a very high percentage of county taxes, now has a 90-year-old high school and a middle school that hasn't been touched since '65. The students in this district have been ignored for too long. Certainly when the money was allocated by the county several years ago, someone had to be smart enough in the room to know that it was underfunded, when you were actually in real dollars underfunding it a couple million then, when you knew the project was 5 years out. I don't know if it was intentionally underfunded. I hope not. I believe the county changed their debt ceiling limit. I don't know the ramifications or intention of that, but I certainly believe there's been some things going on that are very questionable, including the Rocky Gap money that set up a scholarship program that really, in a lot of ways, is like an entitlement that had very little public input. I plead for this commission to put aside your personal grievances, biases, and do your part in coming to the table to get this project done. And no, I'm not expecting the county to come with an open checkbook. The state and the Board of Education are going to have to do their part and step up to the plate. Costs of this project are also going to have to be looked at, as Commissioner Valentine said. But at the end of the day, I expect at the very least the county to be willing and able to ante up on their end to at least the tune of $6 million. As a business owner and economic development advocate, I believe this school will be a huge asset to the county. I'm afraid if it doesn't get built, we're going to lose even more county residents to West Virginia and elsewhere. It will also make it difficult to attract people here. Nobody wants their child learning out of a derelict building, and nobody wants their child learning out of trailers. This will ultimately cost the county a lot more money in the long run if it's not completed. It's time we move forward, drop the pettiness, come to the table, and do what's right for the community. Thank you.
Just a few comments on that. I hope you're not blaming the county commissioners, whether this board or any previous boards, for such a long delay in getting a new Allegany in the pipeline, because this Allegany was not on the CIP. It was nowhere in sight. The first time they came with it and said, we want this put on the CIP, it's our priority. The Board of Commissioners, that was in effect them, myself, Creighton, and Mike, we said, okay, we'll move forward. So we did our part that very first time it showed up on the CIP list. Your statement that we underfunded the school, I don't think you were at the meetings here. We requested from the Board of Education several times, give us some sort of estimate. What's this school going to cost? We never got the estimate. And if you add that $6 million to what you say we underfunded, you're still not even to the base price of the lowest bidder. That doesn't even take it to the base price of the lowest bidder. And what people have to look at, very interesting, the gentleman that came up with the low bid for the base school, he's also the highest bidder for the options. So, yeah, you can't just take a look at a bid and say, oh, that's the one we want to go with. Myself, even though I'm yelling about the price of the school, I've never been in favor of low bid wins. There's always a reason why somebody's a low bidder. You're up.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't sign up.
Everybody's up.
Okay, I will afterwards. My name is Suzanne Wright. My address is 731 Washington Street. I just want some clarification. I might not be the only person in this room who is here because of comments they read in the paper about our commissioner and our county administrator refusing to sit down with our local state delegation and our school board to discuss this.
Excuse me, ma'am, you read that article quite.
I read a letter.
There was a meeting that is being requested through a doodle poll. That meeting, there was no date given for that meeting. There was no agenda given for that meeting. We have discussed with our delegation. If you look at the list, the delegation has decided not to attend the meeting. We're not attending the meeting until after all the engineers, the developers, the architect can have sit down, so everybody knows what the facts are that we're going to discuss.
So let's just make sure we have it on record that all three commissioners and our county administrator is willing and will sit down at the table with all the interested parties to move this project forward. Are we all in agreement?
There's always such a meeting being scheduled.
All right.
It's
We
not
are
the
all
one
in
that's
agreement?
on the doodle poll. It's not the one that's on the doodle poll that you're evidently.
Do you
referring to.
agree to what I've just proposed, that you will, and I'm going to ask each commissioner and our county administrator, when the meeting is scheduled with the architects and the engineers and the state delegation and the Board of Ed and the city representatives, will you, Commissioner Valentine, sit down at that meeting?
Yes, at that meeting.
Will you, Commissioner Brody, sit down at
Not
that
until
meeting?
someone's got something more affirmative than there is right now. There we go.
That's why we're here.
Very good.
Yeah.
The point of the meeting is to get information and to.
And I agree, but
Well, you get
you're
before it's
kind of
not
wanting us
there.
to jump the gun here. You're wanting us to commit to something we don't know about.
We're not asking you to commit, we're asking you to commit to a meeting to discuss options. That's what the meeting is for.
And what would the options be?
That's what the meeting is for, Mr. Brody. You go and you discuss it and you
So
come
I'm
up
right,
with
we're not gonna sit here and argue about this. As far as it being options, we really don't know what the options are until we can deal with the developers, with the architect, to see how low we can bring the price of building a school. Then you can start looking for options.
Look, this is how it's gonna go. Our engineering folks, along with the architects, along with the people from the Board of Ed that have been involved in this process from the beginning, as well as the bidders that have actually done this, are gonna look at the bids, look at everything and say, you know, if you change this, you could save a good bit of money, you know, if you don't need that. After that meeting, in October, the delegation, us, and the Board of Education will meet. I doubt the city will be involved. They will not be involved. They are not giving any money to this project. So these are the three parties, the Board of Ed, the county commissioners, and the delegation. And the extra money is going to come primarily from the state through the delegation. Hopefully some will come from the county commissioners, and it's also going to come from the Board of Ed on that side. But on the other side, it's going to come from lowering the cost. It can't be $60 million. It needs to be closer to the 53, 55 million or lower. So that's where we're at. Those meetings will be in October. They're meeting October 1. Yep, there we go. Okay.
So these meetings have all been set up.
And I will be at that meeting.
And like I say, I haven't heard any disagreement here, really. We all know that $60 million figure is outrageous. Whenever you look at school construction in these other areas, actually, per student. A town like Frederick, for that school, it comes out at about $60,000 per student. The school that's $135 million, it comes out to about $70,000 a student. So why is there so much difference? I mean, the number of students is what sort of decides the size of the school. So what's the difference? It's in the design, what goes into that building. So, and you have different architects, and architects, they make their living off of the price of what they design. They take a percentage of it. So architects usually have their not design very, very low. So we have to sit down with everybody, and we have to find a way to bring that number from up here, down to here. Once we get to that number, then that's a time for everybody to get together and say, all right, how are we gonna get this done? Where's it coming from? And we'll get the project done. With that, on the meeting. Thank you.
Let me